Good afternoon and welcome to Catskills Commerce. I'm Ray Pucci, and as president of the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, I am honored to work with some of the most optimistic and energized people I know, notably business owners, business managers, their staffs, and together we work to advance our communities and maybe build a little better future for our businesses, for our residents and our visitors. The Chamber believes that healthy communities begin with healthy businesses. By focusing on some key areas: community and economic development, advocacy, tourism promotion, and business engagement, the Chamber partners with municipal leaders, community organizations, and local companies to present a unified voice for business for the improvement of our communities. The Chamber believes in collaboration, and we believe that effective collaboration between government, nonprofit groups, education, and business support sustainable change when they're based in honesty, trust, and a shared vision. Finally, the Chamber believes in the potential of this region, our institutions, our businesses, and all who call this special place home. Add to our Catskill Mountain mosaic. We are diverse in thought and experiences, but at Neighbors, we share our love for this community. And that's really the message and the purpose of this program, to continue to spread the news that we remain a diverse and unified place here in the Catskill Mountains. Well, thanks for joining me this afternoon, folks. Sorry for that little burp on the board. To begin the program, things got a little finer tuned here on the technical side than I thought. A little bit later on in the program, David, Madie, and Sophie Wallas, Rasmussen will be joining me, and we're going to talk about, get an update as to what's happening with the Montessori School that's being developed right now and planned to open this fall in Bovina. Boy, talk about changes that we've seen here in Delaware County and the Catskill Mountains in just the last couple of years, that we're actually talking about a Montessori school opening in, of all places, Bovina. That's going to be a little bit later on in the program. A couple things I want to talk about first and invite you to some things. As you all know, New York State government imposed restrictions on many of the everyday activities have been largely removed. And I think we're still cheering that decision. And while we will undoubtedly argue about these last 15 or so months for many years, we'll argue whether these executive edicts from all levels of government overstepped the boundaries, if they were too arbitrary, if they lasted too long, or whether they were just sound public policy decisions based on science. I'm going to leave that discussion to historians and, of course, to the experts that we all have at our local drinking establishments. But what's really important here is that we can finally start our transition from this climate of fear. Remember #StayHome about a year ago? We're past all that, and we can finally return to something of a climate of confidence. Delaware County and our neighboring counties here in the Catskills have fared much better than many other regions during the past 15 months or so. One measure of that is sales tax receipts. That's always, for me, that's always been something of a forward measure of economic activity. Well, those tax receipts, sales tax receipts, at least in Delaware County, are way up. In fact, Delaware County led New York State in sales tax increase on a percentage basis. Something like our sales tax in 2020 in Delaware County increased more than 10%. That led New York State. Likewise, our popularity as a visitor destination, as measured by such metrics as looking at occupancy tax revenue over the past year, that's on lodging, web activity on the Chamber's tourism website at greatwesterncatskills.com continues to grow exponentially. Based on the many new faces that I see around the county and comments, of course, on Facebook, our full-time resident population is increasing as well. Ask anyone associated in any way with the real estate industry, from agents to brokers, to appraisers, to attorneys, to bankers, and credit union folks. And they'll tell you, you'll quickly learn that we are probably in the hottest market since the mid-1980s. But in many ways, I think perhaps the best news is that private investment in our communities, particularly on our main streets, continues to grow. The American dream of taking an entrepreneurial idea, nurturing it into a product or service that you think is of value to someone else, and opening a business storefront is alive and well here in Delaware County. While storefronts in some urban centers literally are covered with plywood, our once empty buildings are seeing renewed life as restaurants, unique retail stores, and professional offices. You know, it's a good time to be here in Delaware County. So, to celebrate our return to normal, the Delaware County Chamber has declared July as Grand Reopening Month here in Delaware County. I'm not sure, no one seems to know if the Chamber actually has that authority, but the Chamber decided to take that authority. So it's Grand Reopening Month, everyone, in July, and here in Delaware County. The County Chamber is working with community partners all over the county to host celebrations. And I encourage all business owners, regardless of whether you're a chamber member or not, local or on the county level, to participate. And even if you don't own a business, but you want to show your support for your local business community, join us. This Saturday at 3 o'clock, we start that series of grand reopening celebrations right here in Roxbury. We're going to be helping celebrate the opening of some new businesses here in Roxbury, like the Fierce Grizzly, Watershed Cafe, and others. But really, it's a celebration of all of our businesses. So 3 o'clock here in Roxbury on Saturday. Hopefully you'll see the crowd. We're gonna do a little ribbon cutting. Got lots of ribbon and a big pair of scissors and a little couple cheers and let folks know that here in Roxbury, we are open. Some of the others that are coming up on Tuesday at 6, we will be in Stamford. On Wednesday, the Chamber team will be in Sydney, starting at 9 a.m., 10:30 in Walton, 1:45 in Delhi, and then on Thursday, the Chamber team again will be out, this time starting at 10 o'clock in Marketville over at the Pocket Park, at 10:30 at the parking lot of Union Grove Distillery in Arkville, and at the 1053 Gallery at 1053 Main, which, by the way, is having a grand opening this Saturday, starting at 4 o'clock, in Fleischmann's. So that's going to be at 11 o'clock, and then a little bit later on at 1 o'clock, I think, the Chamber team will be over in Hobart at the corner of Main and Maple to celebrate those businesses. On Friday, it's 10 a.m. in Hancock and 5 p.m. will be in Main Street in front of the Andes Hotel, of course, on Main Street in Andes. So may have a couple more addition to that, but it's an opportunity for you to participate in that. Another way that you can start participating and help us build this culture of confidence is plan to go shopping, even if it's just some browsing. Attend a concert, theatrical performance, or a movie. Have dinner somewhere and eat inside. Imagine that. Or try a new beverage at one of our distilleries, breweries, or cideries. And have it without food. Of course, you can have food if you're hungry. But whatever it may be, go out. This is a great weekend to do that. Say hello to those you pass on the street. Let's start acting like neighbors again. And please, please be sure to return the greeting that I know you're going to receive when you enter a local business, because we are all happy to see you there. So it starts again this Saturday, tomorrow at 3 o'clock here in Roxbury, and grand reopening celebrations throughout Delaware County over the next week. And when you see those posts, by the way, on things like Facebook and Instagram and some other social media channels, share those. Share your pride of what's happening here in Delaware County. And as I said, we certainly have seen some changes over the last several months. A lot of new faces. I was at the Delhi Farmers Market Wednesday, a couple days ago, and a lot of new faces that I saw. A lot of folks I did not know, and that's what we're seeing. So welcome these our new neighbors. Please, we all have a role in doing this. One of the other changes that I think's taken place is how we think about ourselves and the options, that the alternatives that we have here locally, and the new kind of innovative thinking that we find is taking place all throughout Delaware County. It's so much fun to watch. And two of the people who are changing some of that thinking, I'm thrilled are with me here this afternoon. Sophie, Wallas, Rasmussen, and David Madie are two of the people who are, well, maybe they're the ones who are leading the effort to create a Montessori school in Bovina. And they were on the program probably a month or two ago, and just want to get something of an update. So David, Sophie, thanks for joining me this afternoon.
Thank you, Ray. It's good to be back.
Thank you, Ray. Either one of you.
Still not? We are right here on Zoom.
Obviously. Just having a little technical problems here, folks. Let's get this. That's probably better.
Yeah, you hear us now?
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Ray. It's good to be.
About that.
Not at all. It's good to be back.
I hope we didn't just have 10 minutes of dead air here. Anyway, I didn't get any phone calls saying, "What are you doing up there?" David, Sophie, thank you both for joining me this afternoon. I want to talk about the what you all are doing. We last spoke a couple months ago about the school. What's the status of the school since we last spoke?
Yes, well, we have good news to share for anybody who is interested. I think when we spoke 2 months ago, we were still in the process of making sure we got the financing and the parents and maybe even the permit from New York State Education Department. And we are really happy, if not thrilled, to share that everything is now in place. And we have the first 22 children who are signed up to start in the school, starting in September on a farm in Bovina. These are children that range from the age of 18 months up to 12 years. There's going to be 3 mixed classrooms as is one of the principals in Montessori. There's going to be a class from 18 months to 36 months, a daycare. There's going to be a primary program from the 3 years to 6-year-olds, and there's going to be a program for the 6 to 12 years, so which will later in future years be split up to 6, 9 and 9 to 12. So it's coming together, and we are just in the process of accepting admissions from families and parents who are interested. So we are thrilled to make this announcement here on the show today.
That's wonderful news. Now, there certainly have been some challenges along the way. What have been some of those challenges besides getting families to sign up children?
Well, I think it's been quite remarkable for us that the stars seem to have aligned. So the bumps that there has been on the road has been overcome, very easily, and there has been so much support. Maybe Sophie can share, for example, that one of the things that has been very inspiring for us is there's a similar school in our neighbor county, in Greene County, and that's certainly something we learned a lot from.
Sophie?
Yeah, no, it's true. We have not only that, I guess, but there's actually several Montessori schools that we've been observing and learning from because, as you may know, this is a very new venture for us. We have not started a Montessori school before. We have never been in education before, actually, but coming here to the county and feeling there was a demand or a need and having children of our own. And it's an exciting venture to be part of. And so we have tried to pool as much information and support and learning from as many people as possible in the Montessori community. And thankfully, there are some very similar counties in New York State that have these Montessori schools set up on a farm that we can learn from. And they have been very generous with their time and documentation, which has helped us, speed things up. So whenever we did hit a stumbling block, I would say, we could reach out to quite a few people and ask for help. And they just came out of the woodwork and said, that is doable. You have to do this and that. And we solved those problems. So we're very grateful to be part of a larger community of educators now, even though we're in the administrative side, I would say, yeah.
Also, I think, Ray, another thing that we expected to be a challenge, which wasn't such a big challenge, was to get the actual license from the New York State Education Department. Mm-hmm. Obviously, everybody who starts a school needs a license. There's all kinds of requirements, so children can be safe and that the school can be qualified. And I really have to say it was a pleasant surprise that we found a very, very helpful person with the state. It's a very small office, as everyone can imagine. There's not that many private schools, family-owned schools being started. So we had a wonderful person who's been helpful and just guiding us through the somewhat complicated process. So it turned out to be less of a challenge than we actually had anticipated.
One of the challenges that I would imagine that you would have anticipated running into, part of the process that you went through, you needed to get permission essentially from the local school district.
Actually, Sophie?
Well, technically it is half true in the sense that we have to communicate and inform them of our existence, and we have to collaborate with them definitely on a very deep level because they are in charge of making sure that each child in the county has an education that is being offered to them, whether or not it be at their district or like school or at our school. So certainly we do need to have communication lines very strong and hopefully very positive years to come of communication lines. That's certainly our goal. But yeah, actually a definite permission is actually not technically required from the New York State. You can essentially set up something, but there's lots of rules and regulations that fall within opening a school regardless. So, the district is really there to make sure that we're not crazy people and our representatives of the state making, meeting with us and seeing what we're doing. And if those, things fall within the range of normalcy, then we're good to go. And I can happily say we do feel like this is a very sound and, normal and happy project. So, and thankfully other people are seeing that too.
Well, and that Delaware Academy, in your case, and Delhi Central School was so open to that collaborative effort and those lines of communication, as you said, Sophie. That's a very reassuring, neighborly relationship.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, absolutely.
We had in general support and other permissions. Speaking of permissions, Ray, that you need, and maybe other businesses here on the call have been in a similar situation. That for the property we would need a special use permit.
Mm-hmm.
This goes beyond the normal use and within zoning laws and so on. So we've also been in dialogue with the Town of Bovina Planning Board from the very beginning. And once again, I have to say that there's been great support in going through that required process. Obviously, there's going to be a public hearing coming up in the near future, so anybody have the chance to raise their voice if they have any concerns. So once again, we've seen that things can move forward when a lot of people have a positive attitude and when they come together to make things happen.
And there's something of a shared vision as well, or a shared goal at the very least.
Yes.
How, we've talked about Montessori, we've talked about some other schools. How is this school going to be different from some other schools?
Well, I think it depends on what you look at it in context, of course, but what we are really trying to emphasize is a lot of outdoor classrooms. So being on a farm, it presents itself as a great opportunity for children to be outside as much as possible. And you learn a lot from, being in nature and on a farm. We are going to build an active functioning farm, meaning we will have animal husbandry and gardening farming as some of the things that they will be doing on the school. So, and through those activities, you learn a lot. You learn about economy, you learn about history, you learn about geography, science, like all kinds of aspects that you wouldn't necessarily, think about, but that they get it through their hands-on experience. And that's what we really was, what attracted us to this kind of method of learning is this hands-on experience and how experiential learning, as it's called, kind of inspires them to do the academic work as well. So that's one unique aspect, I would say. The second is that we're really focusing on what we call the 4 core areas on top of the Montessori method, if you will. We have 4 core areas that we're focusing on, and they are nature conservation, the arts, sustainability, and entrepreneurship. And we picked these areas not just because we personally believe they are very important to build a whole being or human societal being, but also because we do find that's very unique to Delaware County. Mm-hmm. Delaware County boasts, a very rich farming history, the small producer, the small service worker, the beautiful natural scene, the watershed, and how to protect and conserve either natural resources that we have at our disposal. And all of these very local, real aspects, we felt like we had to draw very quickly and mainly into the curriculum for the program, so that the students feel like this is actually my life outside of the school as well. I can relate to this. My family is in some way connected to this. My community is connected to this. And so once they do graduate or come out of it, they feel like they're very ready to tackle those things or build their own business, and work with the Chamber of Commerce in that case.
Yeah, absolutely. You both mentioned that you're planning on starting this fall with students aged from 18 months up to 12 years. Where do you see this school 3 years from now?
That's a great question. Well, hopefully it's still running.
That's the start. That's the
That's
start.
as long as we are in operation still, we count that as a success. But we are planning to next year open an adolescent program. We do have children graduating already out of the elementary classroom. And so we really have to get into gear and start the secondary education in the next year. So that will open us up all the way to 18 years eventually, once we have enough capacity. Our hope is to have around 150, 175 students at any given time, if we're lucky. That is, we don't imagine that number is going to come in 3 years' time, I'll say that, but down the line, that is certainly a good number where you can still feel that it's a sizable group and something's happening on campus. But in 3 years, it's hard to say. I mean, we're hoping that a lot of people will support us and keep supporting us, so all of our dreams and visions and ideas can come to fruition faster than maybe we even anticipated, for sure.
You may ask, why is it not enough just to have a school here with 25 or 30 students? But I think for all parents, including ourselves, we have our children that are 8 and 12. Once you pick a school, you don't want to change too often. And parents might be considering the school, don't want to see themselves joining this for just a few years, and then they have to move maybe to another school. So it really is important for all of us that we can see that this will take our children all the way through high school. So that is certainly the vision. And again, we'll see, if the community backs it up. And certainly that's what we would like to see.
So let's talk a little bit about the parents that are signed up, the kids so far. Who are they? Where are they from? Are they local? Are they folks who have just recently moved to the area? What can you tell us without getting too specific?
Yeah, no, there's many different kinds. It is true that there is a lot of people who came to the area recently, including ourselves. But it's wonderful to see, first of all, that the people interested are spread out all throughout the county. So
really?
This school is in Bovina, of course, Bovina Center. We have parents coming in from Roxbury, where you are just now. We have from Delhi. We have from even Franklin. I think we have one in Walton. Hampton, yeah. And Bloomsville, which is close, of course. So it's great to see that people are actually willing to travel a distance to come to the school. Then it has been very important for us from the beginning that this is a school that is available for all families, regardless of their financial means. It is a private family-owned schools. We do not get any grants or funds from the government. The operations and the teachers' salaries will be paid only by tuition. So there is a price for tuition, but we worked also from the beginning on setting up means of financial aid so that families who may not be able to afford the full tuition fees can get financial aid to it. And we're really happy that already we had the first donations, and we have the first family who can now join, a local family in Bovina who can join because these donations were made available to them.
That's tremendous. What do parents think about that, driving that distance?
Yeah, so the couple of things have made it possible, because for some, we have cases where some people are going to drive 40 minutes.
Sure.
And if they're going to bring kids in the morning and pick them up, that is a real issue. So they're really free things, and one surprising outcome or way of doing things. First of all, people are trying to do carpools. So parents are asking us, is there anyone else in Franklin that we could team up with? And we try to connect them. Then also, actually, there will be school bus service available for this school. It turns out that the district must provide school bus services under the existing rules for free, even if this is a non-public school, so all parents can benefit from that. But then the more exciting thing is that one parent asked us, is there any chance that I could work remotely at the school? And then, so I don't have to leave and come back. And we just realized that that was a great idea for many of the parents. So we're actually opening a co-working space for parents at the
That's
school
brilliant.
as well. Yes.
That's brilliant.
So not only does that save transportation time, but it's also going to be a great thing for the community of parents, that they can sit together, have a cup of coffee and tea, and have their own little co-working space with fiber internet right there and available.
That's, you know, the one thing about Delaware County that continues to impress me, and the two of you fall into this tradition very quickly and very, very nicely, is this idea of innovation. You know, people think, you know, you're just this rural area, and things have been pretty much the way they've always been. And what you don't see in this is the innovation that continues to happen everywhere around us. And something like that is certainly consistent with that tradition.
Yes, before we started the interview, you mentioned the innovative thinking that is really going on in the county. And I think that has been encouraging and inspiring for us as well. We are deeply impressed ourselves by the entrepreneurship and the creativity and the initiative and the community we have experienced as newcomers from just a few years ago. And I think anybody who starts a business will always have a little bit of self-doubt. Is this going to work? You know, yeah, right? Can we really do this? And there's enough people who will be skeptical, or at least you can tell by the expression of their face that they're going to go, well, good luck with that. And I think certainly for Sophie and I, that seeing other people doing so many different things, from, you know, writing books about cider production in the United States, or starting up, you know, food production or drink production, and offering all kinds of services, doing, you know, all the different things we see in the county. You know, Sophie and I have looked at each other sometimes and gone like, well, that's, you know, that's who we want to be. So I think that what you spoke to is also contagious in the best of ways. If we can use that word in a positive way now. Because I really think we have been inspired, and we certainly would hope also that what we are doing here can inspire others as well.
You know, I want to talk about the business end that you both have experienced, because you're both well, you know, you mentioned that you've never started a school before, but this is not your first business that you each have started. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. How can families learn a bit more about the school?
Well, they can certainly visit our website is a good start. And there we have a mailing list that they can sign up to, where they can kind of follow along with our developments. It's kind of a little bit of a story going on. We will say, oh, this happened now, this happened. So, which is kind of nice, and they can see the buildup and that it is actually happening now. And the website is bovinamontessori.com. So it should be really easy to find if you know how to spell Montessori. That it is very.
Sophie, let's spell that then.
Yeah. So, well, it's Bovina. So Bovina, right? Bovina. And then Montessori is Montessori. Sorry, I even had to think there.
I was going to say, I can see the eyes moving up into the head, and the mental blackboard up there spelling it out.
Yes. And there on the website, you'll find our contact details. It's very easy to get in touch with us, by the way. It's right there. Our emails and phone numbers are right available readily. We do a small blog there on the website as well. We also have an Instagram account to be like really snazzy with social media. And we try to keep it up and running. I mean, we are so busy with starting the school, so our marketing might not be as great as we would like to, but we're getting there, as any new startup, you know, struggles with. And, you know, so yeah, the best place is probably to start there at the website, and then get in touch with us. Yeah.
And just in case, just dispel any questions, answer any questions that are out there. You are still accepting students for the fall enrollment.
Yes, we are. Yes, we do have space for more. And we do have 2 months left. We do feel like we can definitely squeeze in some more. We will also have some more open houses on the property that we're really happy to finally share with parents. And we've already had 2 open houses with great, response and signups. And we will continue to do that, especially with the interest that there is. And so, yeah, definitely across the board, we still have room. And thankfully, we also found our teachers. This was another of the challenges that you asked about, like how do we get teachers that want to do Montessori? And we found them. And, in fact, some of them are pretty local. One is from Andes, born and raised, and another one is coming from Cooperstown. So 2 out of 3 of our lead teachers are, in fact, locally based, which is
Wow. Well, I'm going to dive into some of the business aspects and your experiences of trying to start this new business in just a moment. But everyone's listening to WIOX Community Radio. You're listening to Catskills Commerce. I'm Ray Pucci with Sophie, Wallas, Rasmussen, and David Madie. We've been talking about the Bovina Montessori School, and we are live and local in the Catskill Mountains at 91.3 FM, MTC Cable Channel 20 at 107.5 FM, on and around the campus of SUNY Delhi, and of course on any smart device through the Radio FM app, and everywhere at WIOXradio.org. Continue that conversation with David and Sophie in a minute, but first let's take a look at the weather forecast for the next couple days. For the remainder of the afternoon, we got a chance of showers, maybe even a thunderstorm, mostly after 5 p.m. We'll see if it's going to affect some of the outdoor activities that are planned. The Fireman Days continue in Margaretville and may affect the fireworks tonight, but it certainly won't affect running those rides and all a lot of those fun activities down there in Margaretville. And Fair in the Square starts tonight in Delhi, starting at 5 o'clock. Around 6:30 is scheduled anyway, up to this point, a parade celebrating the Village of Delhi's bicentennial and some fireworks following that, but mostly cloudy skies. We've got a high this afternoon going up into the mid 70s. Looks like it's about 78 degrees right now here in Roxbury. Overnight tonight, we have showers are likely, maybe even a thunderstorm overnight, with lows tonight going down to the lower 50s. And for tomorrow, it looks a little soggy. We got some showers likely, maybe a thunderstorm or so coming through after afternoon, but certainly not going to wash out the grand opening celebration and the grand reopening celebration here in Roxbury. That's going to be taking place all afternoon with ribbon cutting at 3 o'clock. Overnight on Saturday, we got lows again, some thunderstorms, maybe some showers. Lows going down again to the lower 50s. And for Sunday, for Independence Day, slight chance of showers. And then maybe some thunderstorms later in the day, with highs on Sunday going up to about 70 degrees. Does not look like a washout. So good time to get around. And for those of you who may be extending the holiday a little bit into Monday, it looks like a pretty spectacular day actually on Monday. Sunny skies, highs going up into the lower 80s for Sunday. So we've been talking with Sophie Wallas Rasmussen and David Madie about the Bovina Montessori School. And you both have started other businesses. How does it compare to start a school with the other businesses that you all have started?
Yeah, that's right, Ray. I've been an entrepreneur actually since I was 15, and started many businesses and make a living from actually training entrepreneurship and delivering software for business advisors. I think I can say that it's very similar to starting other businesses. And the listeners, I guess there are a lot of listeners from the business community will be very familiar with some of the things that it requires to start and run a business. First of all, you got to have an attractive product, a service, something that somebody wants to buy. whether you have a hair salon or whether you have a shop or a school, it's got to be something that is attractive. So part of that is the same. We had to sit down, Sophie and I, and think about what is that attractive offering that this school can give someone. But even if you have great ideas, you have to have also teams and partners and staff with you. So, if you run a business, you need suppliers, vendors, you need, materials from, others, you need to hire staff and so on. And in a school, it's pretty much the same. For us, it was about hiring Montessori consultants who had expertise we did not. It was about hiring teachers. It was making partnerships with different organizations, including the chamber actually, to spread the word and get advice for how to do things. So that was the same. Then there's the whole marketing part. No matter what business you have, you gotta be on Instagram, right? You gotta be doing flyers. You gotta have a website. That's the same. And then of course there's the whole financials. You gotta count, and do your numbers right. Make those Excel sheets, understand, what does it take to be sustainable. Make sure you remember all the costs. We had to gather information. What's the price of decorating a schoolroom? What materials do you need? Insurance, as you can imagine, is a big thing in a school, and on many levels. So I really think that there's so many similarities to other businesses that we just experienced once again. And that's one of the reasons when people sometimes ask us, how could you possibly do that without, as Sophie mentioned earlier, without having started the school before? And I think that what we bring to the table is certainly that skill in having started other businesses, and then all the skills we didn't have. Well, we just found others who could supplement us in the best of ways.
So you just went through a whole litany of a lot of those that skill set that's required to open up any business, the marketing, the numbers, maybe the regulatory process is a little bit more involved in starting a school. But besides persistence, which I think is a skill that's required of any business owner, are there some unique skills that are necessary that you found in trying to start a school?
Good question. Well, I think one of the most important things is not to be overwhelmed. You can get really quickly decision fatigue or like paralysis analysis, right? So it's really a matter of taking one day at a time and saying, okay, what's the most immediate thing that we need to do now? What's the most pressing? And then take it from there. Actually you don't know where things are going to lead you, but you work on addressing those issues as they arise, or when you can see down the line, well, we need this in like 3 months time, so that has to start. And then you gently start the process with the different things, but you always keep in mind one day at a time. If you start thinking about how big it is, or how it's going to grow, you're going to stop very quickly and say you're out of your mind, and it really is just about hunkering down and working and not thinking too much about, how this could go wrong or something. Just think, well, I need to solve this specific problem, and how am I going to do that? And always try to pivot around that problem. Well, we hit another snag. Well, how are we going to solve that problem? Is there another way we can do that? Yeah, there in fact is. There are possibilities here. Oh, is there someone we can ask if we don't know the answers ourselves, and maybe they will have a suggestion? So it's really the mindset of keeping it small in your head. Take it one day at a time. Look at the tasks, say, well, this is the one we need to focus on right now, and then deal with it in some way, and then you'll miraculously, things will start to happen. Things will start to form by itself.
Well, one of those big to-dos I know you had, I'm sure, like any startup business, was the financing of it, where you're talking about land purchase. You're talking, David, you mentioned, what's it going to cost to equip to decorate even a classroom and get things like that set up. How did you get banks on board for what's really a pretty unique, unusual startup project like this one?
Yes, and not only was it unusual. It was also a startup, and one thing that banks are naturally fearful of is startups because there is no track record. So whatever numbers you come up with, there's really nothing to compare to. We knew that, and we realized very quickly that this would take an effort to convince lenders that this was going to fly. And I think many other businesses are in the same position. Maybe you're considering to recruit a new or your first employee. Maybe you want to open up a new shop. You want to buy a machine or anything like that. And now you are approaching the bank, and you're going to try to convince them that this investment will actually pay back. And I think what we did, and what I have tried before, and what you would advise anyone to do, is first of all give the bank very detailed and professional material to assess your business. Sometimes in a bank, you speak to one person, but that's not the decision maker. There can be a credit committee. And you don't want to be dependent on the nice person you speak to, who's actually a salesperson for the bank, right? They're trying to get business. You got to help this person who want to help you to take the message upstairs to the final decision makers. So I think, anyone who's looking for an extended credit line, or, a business credit or a loan, should realize that you got to put, your communication, the message got to be so detailed and clear that you're not dependent on someone who can retell a story like you could yourself. So I would say we put a lot of effort into making the utmost detailed budgets for our own sake, but also to demonstrate to banks we have thought this through, right? We know what's going on. And that was one thing that helps open the door. The other thing I think is important, and I know sometimes entrepreneurs and business owners can forget it, that if you want the bank to take a risk, you have to be willing to take a risk yourself. In general, banks don't really take risks. Investors take risks, but banks don't. When you think about how much money a bank makes, percentage of a loan, and then think if they lost the whole thing, it's not worthwhile. You cannot run a bank if you lose money. So the bank will not lose money under any circumstance. And when you approach the bank, you got to realize that's the case. So you have to be ready for, and we had to be ready for, giving personal guarantees. You have to put your house on the line. In our case, again, we have no outside funding. We are going to purchase a large farm property that can be converted, will be converted to the school. So it is a large investment. But if we were not ready to put our house on the line, we couldn't expect the bank to be it. So that's just a condition that is there. And that just makes it more important also for your own sake that you really prepare and understand the business into the smallest details of the cost and how all that part is gonna work. So I think there's no easy way to get a bank on board. You have to have good numbers, right, for yourself and for the bank. That's the path forward for anyone looking for financing.
David and Sophie, I mean, this was clearly in some ways, a personal, passionate project for you both. And I think most businesses really are that anyway. But did you do any market research before you got started?
No, that's a funny thing that, I think sometimes in the business literature, in the way we talk about a startup, there's, the advice is to a business that you have to do a lot of market research. But also, many entrepreneurs don't really do that very much. They just go out and present something
well, it comes out of that passion, that individual vision, that individual passion that they have for whatever it is, if it's that they're selling widgets or opening a Montessori school.
Yeah, the only way to know, you can make a lot of market research, but the only way to know is if people are showing up. And I think...
yeah, I think that's really important that for us, which is mainly a little unusual compared to opening a coffee shop, is that we already had the clients lined up to buy the coffee, or in this case, like, enroll in the program. And that was one of the critical things. Normally, we've talked about this a lot, David and I, is normally you start a business because someone asks you about something. I need this, and then you provide that need, and you already have a client before you talk to the bank. So you already have some kind of business going on. In this case, we had to, find these clients before going and saying, well, we do actually have interest. We have actually people who have said they're committed to the school to show that there is an income stream that will sustain the school. So I think a lot of times as David says, maybe it's not so much the market research, it's making sure that you actually have found existing real clients that are there. They're saying, yeah, I'm willing to pay. And you can showcase that. And that might speak more volume to the bank than saying there is a potential out there, if you will.
You mentioned earlier, Sophie, about recruitment, about finding some teachers. We only got a couple minutes left, but why don't you tell me a little bit about what that process was like of finding some staff that obviously share the passion that the two of you have for Montessori education?
Well, that is a very good question. I wish we had longer time. I'm going to make it very short for you, Ray. But I'll say this, obviously we posted on most of the platforms that are specifically looking for Montessori teachers, and this is on a worldwide scale. But we also posted in like general, recruitment platforms, and then we just spoke about it. We would literally talk to people out in the community that were looking for teachers, if you know someone. So it was really a mix of all this that made us find the teachers that we have. Some came from the local community through word of mouth, some found us through a generalized platform, and others found us through the Montessori community. So it was from everywhere, really. But I would say it has been very interesting, a challenge, because we had no physical school. So they're really riding on us being very passionate and explaining what we're envisioning the school to be. And they really had to, take a leap of faith and believe that what we were saying is going to happen. Thankfully, we now have pictures, and some of them have been to the school site now and can see what we're talking about. But that was a challenging thing for us, is to try and make them imagine what it is we're trying to create. And thankfully, there are people out there who, instantly get it. They instantly see what we're trying to do and say, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And so those are the people that we caught in our net.
You mentioned that you have two from the somewhat local, from the area, let's just say, and a third from, I can't remember where you mentioned that.
He's from Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Was there hesitation on that person's part to relocate? And what's been that person's experience thus far here as a new resident of the region?
Well, actually, she is very familiar with relocating for her job. So in the Montessori world, they are happy to relocate across the planet because they believe in this offering this service as in this education form. And that's part of their, career, is to try up new and explore new cultures. And this was actually her dream job, believe it or not. She comes from Pennsylvania originally. And she says, finally, someone is creating what I really want in my own backyard. So for her, it wasn't really that far compared to the places that she's been. And I'm talking Asia and the Middle East and New Zealand. She's been everywhere. So for her, that was not a long stretch. But yeah, in the future, it is our hope to garner more interest across states and have folks come and relocate. One of the benefits of doing it on a barn is that we have accommodation on site. So they could literally plump down, start working immediately, and then can kind of settle in or find their own spot later down the line. So that does absolutely help.
So you're starting with 3 teachers then, or 3 staff, I should say?
We're starting with 3 lead teachers. So they were like the head teachers of the classroom. And then we're going to have some assistant teachers, possibly depending on the capacity of each classroom. Because as you probably know, there are teacher student ratios in New York State that you have to follow. And those were still recruiting. So we're still open to assistant teacher position applications. And then, yeah, we're going to build on from that. So there'll be more recruitment options.
Great. Well, great. David Madie and Sophie Wallas Rasmussen, thank you both for joining me here on Catskills Commerce and telling us a little bit more about that Montessori School. One of you, please tell us again how folks can get in contact with you.
I can try to do the spelling this time. You can reach out to us on our website. It is Bovina Montessori, Bovina, MONTESSOREI.com. There you can write us an email. You can sign up for meeting the teachers. You can sign up for the next school visit. And you're also very welcome to reach out to us by phone, and you will find that information on the website as well.
Terrific. David, Sophie, I wish you great success. Look forward to the opening of the school in September. And thanks for joining me here. I'm gonna have you back maybe in another 6 or 8 weeks to get a little bit of an update right before the opening. So I look forward to continuing to hear about how successful that you both have been with all those parents to create a new educational alternative here in Delaware County. Thanks again for joining me.
Good to be here, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ray.
And thank you for joining us this afternoon here on Catskills Commerce. Hope you learned a couple things. Hope you got inspired by a couple things that are happening here in the region. And I think coming up next is a new edition of Catskills